name is Mark, and I am a park ranger here at Malpais National Conservation Area. I get to talk to visitors when they stop by and ask the reasons why they came. Was it to take a hike? Was it to check out some Native American petroglyphs, ancient Pueblo, maybe to enjoy the sandstone arch, La Ventana arch? Maybe it was just to stop and use the restroom on their way someplace else. All of us have a reason for stopping. All of us have a reason for coming. I know I did. Archaeological evidence tells us that people have been stopping at what is now Malpais National Conservation Area for over 10,000 years. So why did some of those early people stop? We're going back in time. We're going back to the Paleo-Indian period when we're talking about 10,000 years ago, all the way up to the Archaic period, which ended about 3,000 years ago. Those were hunter-gatherers. They were probably here to hunt big game. So what kind of animals were they finding then? What kind of animals were they hunting? Some of the same animals we have here today. Deer, elk, pronghorn, the pronghorn antelope, and even some long extinct animals. 10,000 years ago, we're still coming out of the last ice age. Bison Antiquis. A bison about 1.5 times the size of the bison we have today. Not too far from here, maybe a couple days travel, we know that these people are hunting woolly mammoths. Think about something the size of an elephant. So what were they hunting with? What was their weapon of choice? I'm going to use this as my example of a spear. Those early people, the earliest people, were probably hunting big game with a spear. So this is about as long as my arms. It's about the same as my wingspan. Spear would have been a long, rigid object with a point at the end of it, a stone point at the end of it. Didn't fly very well. You had to be very close to the animal to hunt it. So think about sneaking up to something the size of an elephant and stabbing it with a spear. I'll bet they lost a lot of hunters, and pretty dangerous. Well, we had some engineers back about 10,000 years ago. They came up with an idea for a new weapon. What I have here is a replica of an atlatl. An atlatl. It's a stick. This particular one, a piece of birch wood. They would have made it with local material, whatever they could find or whatever they could trade for. Trade, very important. Good way to get what you need. The Walmart of its day. You have something that I want. I have something that you want. Now, a lot of this was traded for. So they carved out a handle at one end. At the other end in our example here, which would have been typical of what would have been found around this area about 10,000 years ago, they put a little notch at the end of it. So think of the atlatl as an extension of my arm, as an extension of your arm. Anybody ever use a torque wrench? All of a sudden that bolt that you need to get on nice and tight, or the bolt that you need to get off that was nice and tight, a lot easier to do if you have that wrench. Jar opener. Man, that jar lid just won't come off with your hand. You put it at the end of that jar opener, suddenly it comes loose. A lot of people have something like this to throw a ball for their dog. Yeah, you can only throw that ball with your hand so far. Suddenly you put it at the end of the stick, you can throw that ball a lot further. Same concept. So think of the atlatl as an extension of your arm. They made some improvements on the concept of the spear. What they did was make a dart out of it. Did a couple of things to make it fly better. One is they put fletching at the end of it. These wings, these feathers, these are turkey feathers again, would have been found locally. Something like a dart or an arrow that we have today. That long shaft, the rigid shaft of the spear with the dart, they made it flexible. No longer rigid, now the dart is flexible. Why would they have made it flexible? When you throw your dart, with the Atlatl, again being an extension of your arm, the energy, the momentum, goes from your arm to the Atlatl to the dart. So when you throw your dart, all that energy causes the dart to flex as it flies through the air. That flexing propels the dart through the air, meaning you can throw this dart a long ways. As the flexing stops, as that energy dissipates, the projectile point at the end, being the heaviest point on your dart, causes the dart to fall right into your prey. A successful hunt. So now you've got your meal, but your projectile point is now buried deep in the rib cage of an animal. You're not getting it back. Does that mean the end of your hunt? No, we had some engineers back then. Very simply, all they did was to make the end of the dart detachable. You would take your stone tool making toolkit. You would make yourself a new projectile point. This particular one is made out of obsidian, a volcanic rock. We find lots of volcanic rocks around El Malpais. Put it at the end of a piece of wood. Put it back in your shaft with your fletching, and you're ready to continue your hunt. In just a moment, I'm going to demonstrate throwing the dart with the Atlatl. At the beginning of the video, I mentioned some reasons people tell me why they stopped at El Malpais. We now know some big reasons why people have been stopping here for over 10,000 years. As a matter of fact, descendants of early people to the land that is now El Malpais, they're still here today. Still use this land for traditional uses. The culture, the animals, the trails that I mentioned, the sandstone La Ventana Arch, all part of the reasons why we protect El Malpais National Conservation Area.